Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Omega Files. This time we're back to review episode 2 of series 11, The Ghost Monument. Ugh, creepy. Very, very like Mad Max-esque race across the desert to reach, well, you know if you've seen it. All right, I want to hear your guys' view on the episode. Then we're going to talk about something that happened at the end, just after. We'll throw that up for open conversation. So when I call on you, go ahead and give me your opening thoughts on the Ghost Monument. We're going to start at the top this time. We're going to start with William. Go on ahead and shoot.
Hey now, everybody. You can say this is a straightforward story that follows the ending of last episode. That you saw everybody floating in space. But I'm gonna have to say right off the bat, I'm gonna call hacks on them being implanted with the little thing that makes it to understand other languages like that, because we never saw that in any episodes before that. Yeah, we know the TARDIS did all the translations, but I think something a little more simple could have been solved for that. But the funny thing is, like you said, Freedom, this is supposed to be a race between two people. The destination for having a reward, a lot of money, a lot of stuff. But again, in this episode, it wasn't really a race because they were traveling together in the same boat, walking at the same foot together. Only when they got separated, when they got there, that you could say maybe a little bit of a race started, because considering one of them almost ended up getting killed by these little raps and all that. It was weird. Yes, they did mention the being from the first episode, that because the girl's family and all that would be, then the planet was destroyed by them. Now, does it mean this is going to be the main thing for the season? I don't know. We will find out about that. But it's good to see something mentioned about that. I'm gonna. The TARDIS looked at nice to design like that, but in a way it looked a little bit weird. It's gonna take me a while to get adjusted to the way it looks like that. And I'm a little bit upset that nobody mentioned it was bigger on the inside. I mean, everybody said it. I know Chibnall wants to do his own thing, but everybody says it one time or another. At least something they could have said a little something different about that. The two new characters that was born in this episode was great, and we saw and heard a little bit of a backstory about them, how they are the way they are, which is pretty good. And considering this is only a 55-minute episode, you got to give props that they was able to at least put that in for these two characters like that. Now, whether they will appear again in the other later down the line, we won't find out about that. But as I said, it's a simple little episode of getting from one point to another, and then of course the doctor getting her TARDIS in the end. So you got to give props for that.
All righty. And sadly, it is far, far too late. The statute of limitations is run out. I'm calling Galactic Child Services on Epso's mom. Okay, Connor Farley, go on ahead.
I really liked it. I think as far as episode 2s go, it was one of the best of the new series. Usually episode 2s are kind of weak. Yeah, it was a simple story. It was kind of creepy. I think Doctor Who, in a way, has got a little bit darker. When the ribbons are choking, or the remnants as they're called, is choking Sean Dooley's character, episode. That's quite graphic. It was quite graphic actually, and not something that I expected from this whole era of positivity and hopefulness. But hopefully, stuff like that continues. The cinematography is absolutely mind-blowing. It is by far the standout thing of this era so far. It's just watching it on TV, it's just incredible. And the new title sequence, which very psychedelic, very bold. It was great. Like everything visually is great. That's working 100%. My issue is Jodie with this one. I don't think that she's standout yet. She just kind of, in this one, she just kind of blends into the crowd. And it's sad because I want to see her in her full like leadership role, which is a main part of the Doctor. And it doesn't feel like she's leading the clan yet. It's like, I get that he's going for an ensemble kind of feel and a teamwork sort of spirit to the whole series, but I'd just like a bit more from her. I don't think that she's quite pulling her weight as much as the others are. I think that Ryan is taking quite a lot of the brunt for the team, as we saw when he ran out and tried to shoot all the sniper guards down, but failed. And even Graham is doing quite a lot. And Yaz hasn't quite got the development yet, but I'm sure in weeks to come she'll get a centric role. But I'm just not really feeling... I like Jodie's Doctor, but I'm just not feeling that she's the standout yet. And that's what you would hope would be the case. But not to say that the team feeling of this new series is in any way a detriment to the episode. I think, in fact, as far as character development go, Chibnall's got that absolutely nailed. He's fantastic at writing characters. None of the characters felt wasted. They all felt really fresh and new. Sean Dooley, Susan Lynch and Art Malik were amazing in this. They were great. Not too wasted, which is always an issue with 45 minutes, 50-minute episodes, you feel. Yeah, scenery looked amazing. It looked amazing, and the story, for as simple as it was great. I just felt that Jodie just hasn't found that extra thing yet that she needs to really stand out.
Alrighty then. Okay, let's move on over to Bo. Go ahead, Bo.
I thought this episode was a really brilliant episode. I thought it was better than the first one, in my opinion. I've gotten used to Jodie's Doctor. I thought she was quite brilliant in this episode. I like the robot guards, and you've got Graham and Ryan still struggling with the death of Grace. And I like those flying ribbon things, those flying sheet things. This was a great survival type episode, and I like that the Doctor was able to get those two characters to both win together, instead of it being one or the other. I like the TARDIS interior. I like the little food dispenser thing. So yeah, it was a really great episode. It was better than the first one, in my opinion.
Alrighty. Okay, let's move on over to Graham.
Yeah, how we doing, guys? Solid 50 minutes. A little weaker than last week for me, but nevertheless, still very enjoyable. As Connor alluded to, your guest cast was great in this. Character development, great by Chibnall. Just to pick Connor up on his point with regards to Jodie and no standing out, I can kind of see where he's coming for you, but at the same time, it's early days. You'd probably try to iron out the kinks now, that the fact that this thing's now an ensemble, and trying to balance that out could be an issue in the earlier episodes. We'll see how that develops. The title sequence, again, I agree, become very psychedelic. I've seen some folk were complaining that it was kind of short, but I think it's kind of effective. There's several scenes in this that I found quite funny. Bradley Walsh again is a standout for me, just with some of these throwbacks, and he's very well grounded in the character and it's comfortable in terms of who he is. Yaz, she's there. We're still going to see a bit more from her, but again, that'll come in time. With regards to the overall reveal at the end, I guess they were right when the word steampunk get bandied about. Well, I'm just glad it wasn't pink with unicorns. It'll take some getting used to, but let's just start. Show me more.
Alrighty. Okay. DWC.
Well, right off the bat, everyone's already talked about the opening titles, and yes, I love those titles. They are very reminiscent of, frankly, just all the titles that we had way back in the classic series. Actually, I say back in the classic series more in a sense from Troughton to Pertwee, how it was all symmetrical like that. As for the episode itself, I'd love to use the word cinematic, but let's face it, that's going to be the entire series, so I'm going to get off using the word cinematic. Thing I noticed immediately was the ships kind of a bit homespun for me, if that's even a word. Just a bit mashed together a bit in terms of that. But beside the point, really. In terms of the plot, it felt very Enlightenment meets Vengeance on Vargos. And of course, you have Enlightenment, where it was all a complete race, and Vengeance on Vargos, where they went through completely different maze of routes with every sadistic way it could kind of kill you. So yeah, that was my ultimate feeling of well, what kind of influences it may have had. Okay, maybe it wasn't an influence, but they kind of ripped off some elements there. But overall, enjoyable episode. I can kind of see where Connor's coming from about Jodie hasn't really got her leadership. Well, sort of yes, sort of no. She's not completely out there. She's not kind of got the authority over her companions. I think as he demonstrated with Ryan, he was all right. He was like, oh, all guns blazing. I can handle this because I play Call of Duty. And I'm like, yeah, because that's reason enough to know you can kill someone. But other than that, I think things will move on. Certainly love the interior of the TARDIS. In fact, the moment the episode finished, I went to YouTube immediately. Sure enough, there is now a video where you can see a lot more detail of the TARDIS, how none of the walls actually meet together, interestingly enough, and that's inspired by trees. But yeah, overall, good episode. And I was saying last week how I couldn't really completely love last week's episode, and I think that's mostly because of how this darker tone that we have. And I've been thinking, I think I'm probably like the first episode a lot more once I've got used to the dark tone, and I'm certainly getting used to it. And bring on more, I say.
Alrighty. Okay, let's move on to Beefhead.
I didn't enjoy it. I found it a bit like it was a good idea, but not fully formed. I completely agree with Connor. Yeah, it looks great and everything like that. But if there's no real substance to it, you're going to struggle to keep my attention. And I sort of like found myself getting distracted and getting a bit bored. Yeah, Graham by far is the MVP by this. I do feel she was outshone by the supporting cast. Art Malik, I think, was a bit of a throwaway, to be honest with you. I think that was just a name. That could have been interspersed with anyone else. Sean Dooley's good in whatever he does. He's got that great sort of swagger that you have, and Susan Lynch was really good. But there was a bit of playing to it where, the gung-ho guys, end up looking a bit foolish in this, whereas the heart and soul is with Lynch's character, who lost her wife too. I mean, there did seem to be plot points where the guys are sort of demasculated again, and I was worried about this being a sort of a little undercurrent that runs through it, and I do think you are going to get this, and now that you've shifted dynamic to it. But yeah, Jodie just seemed to be sort of. I'm not. Last week I felt a bit more towards her. Today, it just felt a bit forced. It felt like she was just going through the motions and a bit, to a certain degree, overacting at points. So I wasn't really feeling a connect with her like I did last week, which is a shame. Your TARDIS reveal, was nice and everything like that. I know that. I think the biscuit thing is a bit of a, I don't know. Is it? It's a joke. I don't know. Do you want to make it? Do you want to make it a joke at this point? I think I would rather inspire wonder than try and underplay it by making a quick joke with it. To be honest with you, it looks nice at the moment. And the steampunk, I suppose, if we want to say that. I think it's got the idea of, like with everything that we've had so far, it's all made. It's all like that she's the engineer and builds things and makes things. Mandip, again, criminally underused. It is the Graham and Tosin show for me at the moment, or Graham and Ryan show at the moment. I'm more interested in them than I'm interested in the Doctor. And it just seemed to be not fully formed. This idea of a race that had been going on, that they weren't really that embittered enemies, or really you didn't get a real sense of rivalry, and then all of a sudden they've decided to unify forces. There's no real backstabbing by the end of it. It's a good idea, but it's just not fully formed. So it left me really wanting. I was actually very disappointed tonight.
Alrighty then. Okay, Texas Tim.
Well, I agree with everybody that it looks really good, and It obviously looks very cinematic at this point, and that is a good thing. To the point of Jodie, it really that's a script problem, I would say, not really the actor's fault as far as the lack of her character being in charge. I mean, you might disagree with me, but that's a good point. But I do think that has more to do with the script than it does with the actor. I mean, they're performing the lines. They're not really in charge of, what the director does and what the script says. So I mean, that's something that you're right. It could be improved upon as far as it. But as has been mentioned, it's not so far doctor centric. It really is a bit more ensemble as far as what they're trying to get by at this point. My only problem with the episode and the story was it was a bit preachy in some points, especially the anti-gun bit and the stuff like that, which is what Doctor Who does sometimes. They do try to be a little bit moralizing sometimes about, and they pointed this guy's the bad guy. He was dropped on his head by his mom once and blah blah blah. So they set him up to be that character, and it's a bit one note really. But that's otherwise it was a decent story, and it looks and sounds great. I mean, they've really gone up a notch as far as the presentation of how it looks. But otherwise, yeah, it's kind of forgettable. It was okay. I didn't dislike it like Beef did, but I do think that it was a bit too preachy for my liking. That's just a habit that Doctor Who has sometimes, but it's okay.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out either, why she was being all preachy about the gun thing, especially when your opponents are freaking robots. It's not like he was going to go out there and shoot at other living beings.
No, I'm just going to say that's fair points on behalf of both the Tims, but I just want to make a wee shout out to the standalone subplot of this episode, the love between a man and his cigar.
Sorry about that. Excuse my no camera because my machine's. Anyway, this story, it was like almost a tourist brochure of going on holiday. You saw all these big lovely vistas of the sky, the sea, the beach, and the rotten buildings. But that's fine. It was like a tour de France of a world. And the story itself, I would have liked it. Although it's supposed to be a race, like a rally, I would have liked it with a bit more other competitors in it, rather than just those two doing the last leg. Give it a bit more edge to it. Again, with Jodie's Doctor, I don't know. She was a little bit better in this, but but also at the same time a little bit meh for me, just a little bit. And she was doing, and the one gripe with it with her, there's too much of the Smithy Sonic waving. Every flipping minute, the Sonic was in the hand doing something. And it's like, can she not just do something without the Sonic? It was like in every bloody scene. And the two characters, Epso and Angstrom, I like them. Sean Dooley and whatever, something Lynch, I can't remember her first name. But I like them. They were good, and they added to the story quite well. I'm not so sure about Art Malik. I like what B said. He might as well have been not there at all. I mean, and he also reminded me of Khan from the Wrath of Khan. I don't know why, but he just did. And the robots, okay, they were fine. Didn't get much to do. But Ryan's sort of like Ramboism, as someone mentioned earlier, that was a bit of a slap in the face to us Indian people, or darkies, basically. That's an insult. So I don't know. Yaz, again, they put her on the back burner. Yaz again, just a bit. She had a bit more to do. I think we will get a bit more out of her in the next story, which I hope so. But I did kind of like the story in a way. I watched it the second time, and at first I wasn't impressed, but second time round, I'm a little bit more impressed than I was. And obviously the reveal at the end, oh, sweet Jesus, that was lovely. That was nice. And the fact that she said, "Oh, come to daddy," oops, come to mummy. If she don't know what she is, then she needs to go look in the mirror a bit more longer to work out her sexuality. But there you go. But overall, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Okay, before we go to Ryan, William, you had your hand up. What's up?
Well, I'm a little bit perplexed in why the doctor keeps saying that, no guns and complains about guns, when we could go back and see some of the other actors who play doctors use a gun, even though it might have been on a Dalek or something else, they use a gun. They have used weapons. So I mean, considering we know and especially this doesn't know what happened to Gallifrey because of the time war like that. I'm a bit perplexed with why they still come griping about not using guns. I mean, considering like Beef in Texas said, these was not humans. These were robots that were programmed to shoot them. There's no bargaining with them. So that you have to defend yourself. And the doctor had to defend the companions that were with her. I mean, one of them could have got seriously hurt. So keep saying no guns. It's going to cost a companion their lives. That's going to happen.
Texas Tim, what'd you have to say?
Well, I mean, people have mentioned that the character of Yasmin was a bit shorted in this and the last episode, but that begs the question: is 3 too many? I mean, would it not be more effective if she had 2 sidekicks rather than 3? I mean, we know that the character will probably develop as the series goes on, but that raises that question that maybe that's just too many for them to have work effectively in a script of 45 to 50 minutes.
One thing that I did forget to mention in my own review is that I think there is a pacing issue going on. Maybe not so much in the first episode, but definitely in this one. I think while they're going for the cinematic look, they're editing it a bit too blasé, almost. You're getting the random cuts to black, and then you're cutting back in like a minute or 30 seconds later, and it's chopping and changing the pacing, and it's really quite, I don't know, it's kind of, it's irritating in a way because you can't keep up with it almost. I just think that the pacing kind of needs to, for something that is actually a slow episode by Doctor Who standards, it needs to, I think the more consideration needs to be put into how it's edited, especially if it's going for a cinematic look. So I think that there is a pacing issue, and I think that's, as B said, he thought that it was underdone and sort of needed more. I think that that's a part of it. The way that it's cut together and edited, I think it's become a bit of an issue.
Okay, I want to go ahead and get to Ryan so he can get his views, and then we'll go to open mic. So go ahead, Ryan.
I liked it. It was an interesting episode. I think it's got a really unique feel so far this season. In terms of episodes, they're not really things that at least have been seen in the new series. I'm not too fond of the intro. The theme itself I really like, but the intro took me a bit by surprise. It was sort of a bit lacking in something. I don't know what it necessarily was, but kind of lacking there. The overall feel of the episode I really did enjoy. It's going to be interesting to see this season play out and what the tone will be, but I do agree with the fact that Jodie doesn't feel quite right yet. I don't know. I hope she really does come into the role, but overall I was left kind of disappointed by her performance, and every single time she used the sonic, she did the whole pull the arm back pose. Like, it was so overly dramatic, I feel, the way she kept using the sonic. But it's just little things like I know the overuse of the sonic has been a thing in the past, but it's even just little things that the sonic is used for, like turning a wheel or whatever. It's like you can just do that by hand. It's like, why does the sonic need to do that? Those are really what bother me about the sonic more than anything else. But we still got a few other little bits to show off more of sort of Tinkerer and things like that. And of course, we got the throwback to Venetian Aikido. That was really good to see. And yeah, the new TARDIS looks really good. I love the exterior of the TARDIS with the darker door panel. That was really good. I love just the whole look of that TARDIS. The inside, very, very unique looking. I'm looking forward to see that. more in the future. And yeah, we got the TARDIS console making food, which is interesting to say the least. But nonetheless, a really good sort of expanding episode. But I want to see a little bit more from Jodie in the coming weeks.
Okay, at least they covered the key issue, because I know there are a lot of people going, how are they going to get in about a key? Oh, but I was like...
I forgot to mention about what I thought about the opening intro. I think it would have been nice if they had continued the kind of thing where you see Jodie's face or a whole body image of her, you know, like on the credit, on the title sequence. That would have been a nice touch. Another thing I've got to say, what they call the remnants. I like how they had this kind of proper site. I can't even say that word. I'm using that one. I like how they had that kind of thing where they knew things in their head, and it's almost like the face of Bo, like you are not alone, kind of propaganda sort of thing. So I'm interested to know about this. What is it called? There's something child, the timeless child. Is that them referring to her? I wonder, or something else.
Interesting. I know that was kind of an interesting little line they threw in there about that.
Yeah.
I have to agree with most of you. This one kind of ran a bit, kind of slow for me, but at the same time, it's supposed to be a race. I agree. There should have been more competitors, and also it was kind of like weird that, okay, we're on the last leg of this race. It's been going on for how many planets, how many times, yet we're going to get to the last bit of it, and you can't backstab, harm each other, or anything like that. And I'm like, does that make any real damn sense, especially given the stakes of this race being so high? You see, that just don't make any sense. You're leaving yourself wide open for what happened at the end with, okay, we're both going to claim the title. It's like, I thought it was going to be like one of them Highlander deals. It was supposed to be like there could be only one, but okay.
Well, it was mostly just because Phillips kind of highlighted something I was going to say about you had the bit with the remnants right there and actually doing a telekinetic thing and going through the whole thing with the timeless child. And equally, earlier in the episode, we had the Stenza were brought up again. So it is one of these things that maybe want to ask, are we sure there's not going to be a story arc? Because it kind of looks like they're building to a bit of a story arc here.
Well, the Stenza get a mention, but, we don't know if they're going to pop up again or not. Like I said, there's a rumor, but, we don't know anything for sure at this point.
It's twofold for me. I mean, the idea that this planet was basically a repository for where they developed and created weapons, and everything is trying to kill you. But it didn't really seem like everything was trying to kill you, apart from the remnants, which are basically just flying bandages. The idea was to clear away the wounded. Now, everything was trying to. For me, I would have liked it if it would be you have to avoid getting it. I know it would have been a little bit Curse of the Black Spot, but if everything was trying to kill you and ergo then the remnants are the ones that clear away the wounded, would have been an interesting aspect for me. But I just didn't get a real feeling of threat or danger that this planet is just all being and everything like that. And I liked the theme tune, like the guys have said as well. The opening credits, well, they're nice to look at, but that's what it seems to be. Everything I've seen so far it's nice to look at, but this was something that we said when the trailer was released, and it's something that I'm still sort of struggling to find, especially now we're 2 episodes in, is that I'm missing identity. That I'm really struggling to find something that is saying to me, this is really Doctor Who. There's a bit of an over-reliance on the Sonic, and now we've got a TARDIS. It seems like we're being drip-fed something to keep people coming back every week. But I'm lacking something that's really saying to me, I'm putting a stamp, an identity on this to say, this is Doctor Who. This is what Doctor Who is now, and everything like that. It's at the moment, it's all feeling too generic. I know we're only 2 in, and it's hard to say that when you're 2 in. But if you really want to push Jodie, and set a definite footprint on, and as the showrunner, and you want to make this, I want them to be bold and everything like that. And it just seems that they're just sort of like they're sort of soft shoeing it. Really, I want them to really say, bang, this is Doctor Who. There's no other show like this on TV. This is a show that has run for years and years and years, and I'm just not seeing anything that's just making it stand out.
Yeah, because that's the other thing I wanted to bring up about why didn't we have more competitors? Because then you could have a few red shirts here and there to really show or maybe present some type of threat. Like have one of the guys fall into the water, and then like like Marana, he's like getting you don't actually just show like
exactly.
had like a skeleton bubble up or something like that. That would have been, would have put a little more threat into the planet. And it's like, I agree with you. I didn't feel any threat from this planet, really, other than, oh, look, there's some tattered up mummy rats that are going to grab you, or, just don't drink the water. Come on, what is this, Mexico? It's like okay.
I credited the character development, but then I just remembered that one of the things I noticed, and I don't know if anyone else noticed it as well, at the very beginning, Ryan's dyspraxia was noted because he fell over. Then, as the episode went on, it was forgotten about because he was running all over the place and there was no issues. Now, I'm all for having a character like that having an edge, so having a disability. But be consistent with it. Yeah, it might look stupid that he's falling all over the place every time he's running, but at least it's consistent, and at least it's consistent with what you're trying to advocate and portray. It doesn't take away from the story, I don't think, and I just would like some consistency. At the very least, some energy didn't come from the planet and heal him. But I just think that there needs to be some written sort of consistency with his actions that relate to his disability, which was made such a big deal about in the first episode. And it's noted in the first few minutes of this one, and then it's forgotten about completely. Just doesn't make any sense to me.
Here's a funny thing. Because if you notice from the first episode, from last episode, one of the main things the doctor is searching is the TARDIS. Now, of course, yes, she does run into and have the three companions with her. But this is an unusual question. Thanks to the ending, and then we saw the trailer to next episode, we know that they're going to be with her again. And then because it's a historical episode. But here's a funny thing. In a way, they don't need to be with her anymore after that, because she done what she really wanted to do, was to find her TARDIS and continue traveling. As she says, she's always traveling. And of course, Graham and they got the little issues with what happened with the death of last episode. That could be, time and therapy could deal with that. And as for this young lady who hasn't really been used all that much, yeah, she talked to Graham when he was climbing down and said that calm him down, but that's not enough. So in a way, she does got to get back to her job, because she is a cop. So that isn't on you. I'm not saying that these characters are bad like that, but there's a certain limit of what can they do, because they have to deal with their own lives, and the doctor does what the doctor always does, and that travels in other places and in other places of time. Now, whether the doctor's always alone is up to the doctor. I'm saying that maybe after the next episode, we could see a story too with the doctor alone.
Just to pick Will up on his point there, that's a decent point. I'll give you that. They'll maybe knit that together with something as to why they're still travelling as the episodes progress. Just to pick Connor up on his point as well with regards to Ryan's dyspraxia. To be fair, they did touch upon it again when they went to get down the stairwell, down the ladder underground in the tunnels. And it's the day with the way he's able to go up and down the ladders as well. So you want a bit of consistency. There's a wee bit there. Maybe not enough for you, but there is a wee bit.
Knowingly, Graham's just taking my point. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, that there is a bit of consistency with Ryan's dyspraxia, like the ladders thing, and I think he might have fallen over after he ran away from shooting those robots. But also to take a bit of what William was just saying about, well, now that the Doctor's done this thing, the companions now aren't really needed. So, okay, William probably didn't just say, so why are they still there? But I would equally make a point. I mean, you could make the argument, why are they even going to be in the next episode at all? To which I would say, you do know the Doctor gets lost a bit, right?
2 points. At the beginning of the episode, where they reprise them hanging in space, you would have thought that they would have been crystallized to death within the seconds of being in space, but obviously not. So I found that a little bit unbelievable. That's slightly unbelievable. The other thing, what was my other thing? Oh, the Doctor using the Venusian Aikido. I was expecting her to fling people around all over the bloody place, not use a one finger and then stick it in someone's neck. Come on, you can do better than that, woman. Come on. There you go.
Pertwee's used that same move. where he's paralyzed people with just by going like
Yeah,
that.
but he did it with Star. He's like, "Ugh," and she's like,
Come on, Philip. It's not her fault she can't go, hi!
I thought you take my point. It was a bit lame, that's all. A bit lame.
Okay, anybody else? Any other big points you want to bring up? Okay, yeah, I guess we're going to cut this one short then. I think we covered pretty much everything. Yeah, one thing I have to agree with you all on, and it has been sticking in my craw, is why the hell's Yaz there for? Really, I'm not kidding. It's like they didn't really use her all that much in the first episode. They didn't really do much with her here, other than the fact, okay, there's Yaz. Yeah, at least that's just the vibe I got. I don't know.
That was my point about maybe 3 is too many, because you've got one that they're not really using yet. She may end up being a big part of the next 2 or 3 episodes, but on the other hand, they're obviously juggling, and rather than just going with the obvious one companion or even 2 sometimes. I mean, I think 3 is a bit of a handful to give everybody something to do.
Yeah, I was just going to say, given by the preview of what we have for next week, I'm kind of betting on the fact that Yaz is going to have a bit of involvement in next week's episode more than anything. So I think she'll get some character development.
No, I just did. Well, bloody hell. There we go. Just to follow in Tim's point there. Is 3 too many? Possibly. We could be suffering from Davison syndrome here, but at the same time, I think they did mention in the promotional material in the lead up to the season that there would be episodes where characters would be exclusively centric. So obviously they're juggling instead of giving them all necessarily something to do in every episode.
Yeah, but again, a lot of complaints about Davison is that he doesn't stand out because he's always got a TARDIS full of kids. I mean, so it's like, is that the same reason we're seeing now that maybe the Doctor isn't really standing out the way she should? I don't know. I mean, we're 2 in. We got 8 to go, or 9. So we'll see. We'll see if it improves on that front. But I mean, I just wonder if maybe they didn't bite off more than they could chew when it comes to finding enough for 4 people to do and make it effective.
I mean, Hartnell had 3 in his first season.
That was a different time.
Good point about the lack of use of Yaz. I mean, fair enough. We understand that Graham and Ryan had lost someone that they're close to, but did we really need to have them sit and talk about it? They could have done that, I don't know, at the end of the previous episode and dealt with it that way, rather than pad it out into the next episode. How long are we going to have that kind of interaction with those 2 before? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to
character development, Phil.
Yeah, but I don't want to keep coming back next week and saying, "Oh, do you remember when Nana did this and Nana did that?" And I don't want to hear that. I want to get on with the adventure, fight monsters, and
you heartless monster.
You know what I mean? I just want to get on with it. I don't want to full stops.
I mean, again, another point about character development, maybe it's not as great as I thought it was, is actually, Philip, I thought Graham looked too happy for someone that just lost his wife, apart from the very moment when he realises that the Stenza had demolished Desolation and that they were the ones that killed his wife. I think before that, he was all quite too gung-ho for someone that's just lost their wife. It should have been addressed more, to be fair. If you want consistent character, like, address the issues that have gone before. I get that he's trying to go for standalones, which might be a lie, but it probably is a lie, but at the same time, address the issue of his wife dying, which was a big plot point of the previous episode. For him to go around looking too happy, wearing them stupid sunglasses on an alien planet, just kind of, I don't know, it just takes away from...
There were 3 suns on that planet. You've got to shade your eyes. You know what? That's another point, actually. I'll let you finish and I'll bring up that point.
No, but I mean, pretty much that's the point I was making. He just looked too happy for someone that lost his wife, which was probably only like in terms of the timescale of this series, like a week or so before. It just doesn't ring true with realism to me.
Right, can I just make the point of the planet itself? With that planet having 3 suns, I mean, there's no way that the human skin and body could cope with that kind of exposure. And they seem to be like walking down the beach. Yeah, let's go and have a little swim. Nothing wrong with us. Where's the cancer on the skin, man? With all those 3 suns, come on.
That might be why they said they had to get out of there within 1 solar cycle.
just to put Connor and Philip on their point with regards to a nice wee segue, Connor. Bradley Walsh and his sunglasses. Just as a wee side note and a wee chuckle. Anybody else curious to see Pythagoras with a hangover? Did that add up?
Explain why he came up with the Pythagorean theorem. This is the angle. It's a right triangle thing, but also it's pretty much how you're going to fall down if you get too rocked. Okay, so lots of interesting points coming up. Yeah, we got a new TARDIS interior. Made me die laughing because they made Digital Spy and Radio Times take down the photo with the TARDIS interior in the background, and they're going to reveal it in less than a couple hours any damn way. But also they hit somebody today on Twitter for having the photos out of the TARDIS Type 40 manual, which is coming out beginning of next week. But well, just a few nifty little things that they've gone nuts for. But all I know is this. I can't rate this one as high as the last one myself personally, but I want to hear what you guys are going to say for it. So, all right, we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up to the top. Out of 10, Ryan, how do you rate the Ghost Monument?
We'll go a 7. I think 7 sounds about right. Yeah, just the Doctor sort of blending into the background. I really want to see more from Jodie. She was a bit better last week, in all honesty. Stood out a bit more. This one, not so much. Yaz getting a little bit, just a little bit with she's obviously not getting on with her family, just a little bit there. But I want to see more from her, not just little snippets of things. But I reckon we will get that eventually. But yeah, overall, I'll say a 7 for this one.
Okay, Philip.
7 was my initial benchmark for this story. It didn't quite grab me as last week's did. It was all right in places, but I just thought it was a little bit slow in some places. And as Connor said before earlier today, the pacing's a bit off. The monsters were the only. What do you call them? The remnants were the only thing that stood out for me, as opposed to the robots. And the TARDIS reveal was quite nice, short but nice. So 7.
Okay, Texas Tim.
I'll also give it a 7. It wasn't bad, but it could have been a little better. I think it could have been tighter.
Okay, Beefhead.
I was torn between a 4.5 and a 5, so I'm going to go for a 4.75. Literally, I have a Doctor that is lacking in agency, to be honest with you. Graham and Ryan are by far the best things in this. The problem that I think last week and this week is that they spend a lot of time doing setup, then the story in the middle seems really rushed, and then they want to do like a little extended bit at the end, which then it just throws the whole thing out. I'm struggling to connect with Jodie, and that's not because I have a PP and she doesn't. It's nothing like that. It could be the way she's written, but it's just I'm just not feeling it yet, and it's lacking agency for me. It just seems too generic, and this is sort of forgettable. It seems to be style over substance. Philip's comment of it being like a travel brochure, sort of does get it for me. It looks nice on paper. It looks good. Look at the famous faces, but then when you get down to it, there's nothing really there. I'll be interested to see what they do next week when you go to doing a historical. But it just seems to be, apart from Jodie sort of opening doors and closing doors and sticking her head around the corner once Ryan and Graham have already worked it out, and throwing in a bit of techno babble, there isn't much that she's really doing. So it is. The music is great. The one thing I will say more than anything else in this that I'm enjoying is actually the music. I want to say Kanako has done with this, but it's just too superficial and lacking in agency for me. So yeah, I just felt let down this week.
DWC.
Give it a 7.
Okay, Graham.
7 for me as well. I'd agree with Beef. I can always score is the best thing about the new season thus far. Early days, folks. Don't go, tying the noose in the gallows for the chips just yet. But some folks will be doing that anyway. We'll see what happens.
Okay, Bo.
I like the opening intro as well. I quite like this episode. I'm giving it an 8.5.
Okay, Connor.
I liked the music. Yeah, I forgot to mention Akinola is again the standout. He's incredible. A great sound for Doctor Who as well. One that I didn't expect, and one that is pretty much trouncing everything else. But identifying a few more niggles throughout the cast it's got to be a 6.5. Honestly, I was going to give it a 7, but I think it's got to be a 6.5. Unfortunately, it's solid though, and it is a good paving stone for Chibnall's vision, and I'm hoping that it gets a lot better, and that when it picks up steam, it does really pick up. But as a start, it's solid enough. I can take it for 2 episodes.
Okay, William.
Well, I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. It's not a bad story, but like everybody said, we have certain gripes about it. Even though next week's historical one, the question is gonna be made not only to us but to everybody who's been watching Doctor Who, is that are they gonna continue watching it, realizing that nothing and nobody, whether it's aliens or or creatures or bad guys or anything, will show up for the rest of the season? Because even though some of these new villains or aliens or planets have great visual effects, I think people would like to see at least one something from the past to see how improved the effects will be on them. And like we gotta wait like another week or so on the ratings for these episodes to pop up to see either it has been steady or now it has been starting to go the other way. So we have to wait.
Okay, I'm going to give the Ghost Monument a 6. It was solid. Yeah, sure. The visual effects were great. Yeah, the cinematography was beyond excellent. The music, incredible. But at the same time, it just didn't work for me. I'm glad, we're getting lots of background development from, Ryan and, of course, Graham. But it's just seemed me like, the Doctor was just there. And same thing with Yaz. Yaz was just there. And it's like, also the fact that, you've built up this great big, competition that you've claimed has gone on for so and so long, so many planets and all that. You had to barter your way to get across the galaxy, get to the ships, get your gas stuff, and but we're going to get to the last part, and you ain't allowed to hurt each other. And and then they say, the stakes are like lifetime safety, security, money, and all that for you. Unlimited rice pudding, if you want to say, for you and your family, but you can't hurt each other. Just didn't make any sense to me. That they just kind of dropped the ball with that. Sure, the TARDIS reveal was grand. It's finally great to see it properly lit, and properly executed. But at the same time, also, the biscuit thing kind of threw me off a little too. I gotta say it. It's like, oh look, you were a good doctor. Here's your biscuit. Okay, you found me. Here's your biscuit. Matter of fact, they should have just had her go complete Sandy Duncan and make it a Trisket. All right. Next week, we'll be all gathering again to discuss which will be a somewhat historical episode, because we don't know what all is going to be involved. And that's going to be the episode titled Rosa, which is going to take place during a very, shall we say, controversial time in American history. We're talking 1950s Alabama. I'm really shocked they're even going to try to tackle this. This is one of them things that politically correct people do not discuss, because it's a very turbulent time in American history. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it's going to go. I just hope it don't turn out that the villains are androids and clan sheets. All right.
Back of the bus, people.
Until then, folks, we'll see you then. Take care. Ta-ta. Enjoy what's little bit of your left of your weekend, and we'll see you then. Good night.
Bye.
Ew.